involve more science stuff today. So, questions?
Do you feel like it's confusing, perhaps, to the jury to hear more about presumptive testing versus the confirmatory testing?
As you know, I objected to any evidence of this so-called presumptive testing and tried to make it clear it shouldn't have come in at all. But I think it was the clearest today when the witness this afternoon admitted that presumptive means it's possible that it's blood. And in any event, I showed the picture of how this evidence was recovered in an open garbage bin, so an open receptacle. So I want everyone to understand, even though there's the infamous video of Photostoulos putting a black garbage bag in a receptacle in Hartford, when they arrived, someone had already picked through that, whether it was that homeless person or somebody else, which they didn't show. It was all just displayed and splayed out in that trash barrel. So everything contaminated everything else. So there are obviously, and I've conceded this all along, there are obviously certain items that were tested that were clearly had blood, including those items of clothing. So, but whatever else had on it is pure speculation in my view, because of the fact that it's all jumbled together, and even they admit they just took the barrel, dumped it into a larger contractor's garbage bag, and then later spread it out. So like anything, it's like, like when you make some kind of meal, you put some cornflakes or you put breadcrumbs in a bag and shake it around, it gets on everything. So, yeah.
John, 16 days of testimony. How do you characterize the state of the case to this point?
Long. It's an interesting question. Thank you for it, but I haven't even thought about that. It's not the longest trial I've ever done. I've done trials that took 3 months. But it's just a long, slow-moving process.
And we had yet another day without Michelle Troconis' name being mentioned in testimony.
Well, as I've said all along, this is really the trial of Photostoulos, and I'm not either keen to be defending him, nor is it my job, but I think I said this the other day, in order to prove the charges, some of these charges, the state has taken upon itself the obligation to prove that Photostoulos didn't just hurt his wife, didn't even cause her death, but he murdered her, that he intended to kill her. And, that's a choice they made. That's something they have to prove to this jury.
John, going back to the presumptive evidence concerns, do you find it kind of irrelevant? Do you think it confuses the jury, or do you think it unnecessarily prolongs the testimony from, this very dense scientific type stuff?
Well, really all of what you just said. Okay. I believe that presumptive tests sort of are in and of themselves confusing, and even your question suggests that. But it's kind of like these so-called field tests that police do on items they think are drugs. Even sugar will test positive, and even a number of other food items, powders, will turn positive when you add the reagent chemical, these so-called field tests. And for that reason, I have to object to that, because even though it's not about Michelle Troconis, it's not about her blood, it just keeps coming in, and it's not all blood. And so the idea that there was that much blood, how could someone not notice, is really not borne out by what the actual evidence is, and that's why I have to keep objecting.
My question was inelegant. The
Inelegant?
The days of testimony, is it overkill?
Again, I am not going to criticize the prosecution for putting on a complicated, step-by-step approach. This isn't Law and Order where you can conclude the case in an hour. They're putting on a lot of stuff that, you know, if for no other reason, shows how much money and time was spent not just prosecuting this case, but investigating this case. And if they spent billions of dollars, it's not beyond reason for them to want to show what they did for their money, even if it's arguably irrelevant to the case.
I know it could be a little bit of a moving target. Last question. What can people expect next week?
I don't know. I just texted Attorney Manning. They forgot to tell me. They're supposed to give me at least 1 day's notice. They haven't.
We'll check your phone real quick.
Yeah, no, it's raining, so you're lucky I stopped. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.